Hey, what's up, WCReplays.com? This is Orange back again for another audio commentary. This one's going to be Elf Mirror. I know I promised a few people that I'd do a audio commentary on a whole bunch of setting up a game plan and stuff. I'm not doing that yet. I'm trying to actually find a decent enough game of mine to do that. So, yeah, I've been working on like a couple accounts just to do that. Stuff like that, because, you know, most of my accounts I just screw around on, so the ELL is kind of bad, but I figured I'd actually make some serious accounts and try from there. So I'm still working on that. Don't worry, it's coming out. But, yeah, get the first replay paused at the 45-second mark. These games are going to be pretty quick, just because of, you know, the strategies used, etc. And plus, I guess, the players are pretty good in these. I was thinking about doing a second part to this audio, which I might do later, which is called Priestess of the Moon Mass Hunts, like how to use it. Yeah, I named it. Crappy name, whatever. But basically this is how to beat the Priestess of the Moon Mass Hunts. And, you know, steps to take in preventing being overrun by huntress. So, well, all that said and done, let's get this unpaused in 3, 2, 1, unpause. If you don't have the maps, I'm sure I could find them, I think. Yeah, I'll probably just include them in the audio pack, and then you have to make the folders for it. I'm not sure what the folders are, because, you know, NGL's pretty lame with that stuff, so there's a whole bunch of random folders everywhere anyways. Alright, so you'll notice that we'll be following Long Walk this game also, not MTW Check, since he's going to be the one doing Priestess. Let's follow the one with the Demon Hunter Archers. Generally in Elf Mirror, especially on Twisted Meadows, if you're going with the Demon Hunter, you're probably going to end up AOW creeping. And if you're in Demon Hunter Mirror, you're going to end up getting like 3 or 4 Archers max, as opposed to what's going to happen in this game. When you're against Priestess of the Moon Mass Hunts, the first thing you have to realize is, when you scout a hunt build, and basically when you scout the hunt build, you find their base and you go, okay, I didn't see them pre-building an Ancient of War to creep. It possibly is a Huntress build. And if you actually see a Huntress Hall or a really late Ancient of War, chances are it's going to be a Huntress build. Of course, if you also see the Priest of the Moon, you can assume Huntress, because only like 2 or 3 people go Priest of the Moon with mass archers or mass glaives or something, whatever. Either way, you can pretty much assume Huntress when you see the Priest of the Moon, and that should be your first hint that not only are you going to get harassed by a priestess, but you're also going to have to protect your wood wisps. And the thing with this is that you should probably send out a couple scout wisps anyways. The 2 main areas that you should send scout wisps are actually the 2 expos that he's closest to, just because it's pretty easy to tell when he's like across the map. Generally, if you're creeping, you'll pick him off anyways. And especially if you have like the wisp going into check space, if you have one near him, you can actually check where the rallied hunts are going. So it's a pretty easy thing to figure out where he's going and if he's going to expo or not. One thing to do is to make sure that he does have a second Ancient of War, because if you don't scout a second Ancient of War, chances are he could be expoing and he could be teching. So that's one thing to be aware of, is that, you know, you really have to make sure that you scout fairly well with the Priestess anyways. I mean, if you're using the Priestess of the Moon Mass Hunts, it's pretty easy just to harass him and then mass up a few hunts in your base and then push him, and there's really not much scouting required because you're pretty much following his Demon Hunter the whole time, or he's following you in this case. But the one thing that you will notice is that with the AOW creeping, you'll probably notice this in both replays actually. They're very different replays. Same map though, I think. Anyways, and by I think, I mean, I know it's Twisted Meadows, but I'm not sure if it's like the same NGL map. Anywho, what I was saying is, generally you're only going to be able to get the level 5 null Overseer off and be able to get the item before you can actually finish up the creep camp. And basically what you do is you just kind of root your tree and repair it and hope for the best. Because really what you're going to end up doing is possibly losing a creep to the priestess. So you'll notice he's going to lose a wisp eventually. But really, you only need, what is it, 6 or 7 wisps just to be able to hit tier 2 and set up both your lures. I'm pretty sure it's 6. 7 if you want a second hero, I think. Either way, it's just a good thing to have, like, more than 6 wisps anyways. But, you know, if the worst should happen, you know, yeah, that's just the, that's the basics of the economy, I guess, for Night Elf. 7 wisps, like, minimum to tech, and then basically, you know, set up your tier 2 buildings. You might want to replace a couple wisps after that anyways. Generally, I build 9 wisps, and then I'm good for wood for the rest of the game. But, of course, I play weird, so you never know. Anywho, Demon Hunter hits level 2, and you'll see what he's doing is he's actually trying to clear out the tavern, which is why he's chasing the priestess around the tavern. And, wait for it, he gets the Beastmaster. But yeah, the reason you get the Beastmaster is actually because, oh, he's low on wood. You need 135 wood for the tavern hero as opposed to a natural hero, which is an inconvenience, but whatever. Yeah, what was I saying? Okay, so he's going Beastmaster. This is what I was saying, and the reason you go Beastmaster is actually for the cool beasts. Occasionally I go Keeper of the Grove just because I like the Entangle. And if you've ever been attacked with mass hunts, you'll find that the Shadow, like as Orc, you'll find that the Shadow Hunter actually completely rapes Huntress. And that's why I like the Keeper of the Grove, because he kind of does the same thing, except his Entangle does damage, which is sweet. So sometimes I do that. It depends what I feel like. Usually I go Beastmaster. But yeah. One thing to also note is that you should kind of send a wisp in and out of his base occasionally just to make sure he's not teching. Because if he does tech, one thing you should expect is a lot of dryads, which is... it's a real pain, actually. But yeah, what he's doing right now is he's actually trying to stall the Huntress from pushing his base because he barely has any tier 2 units. Well, he doesn't have any tier 2 units, he's just starting his first Dryad. You'll notice he's building a lot of archers though, and the reason this is because he's actually wasted, you know, a lot of money on wood wisps. I mean, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 wood wisps. Now 7. And you kind of need an ample amount just to be able to get tier 3, and plus, like, getting tier 2 units is pretty expensive on the wood part. So yeah, that's one thing to keep in mind. Also, one thing he's going to do here is he's actually going to creep out the mercenary camp, and this is why actually this spawn is better for you, is because you can actually access the mercenary camp. Sure, you could go to the shop and maybe get a couple healing scrolls, but it's easier on the micro if you actually get a couple marks instead, especially because, you know, they're a lot better than archers, and they do a little better damage than dryads. So that's one thing to keep in mind, is that mercenaries are a pretty important factor. I mean, if you look at the Forest Troll Berserker, stats-wise, he's actually better than pretty much every unit he's got except the heroes. So that's one thing you keep in mind, is that you can always purchase mercenaries. The occasional Mud Golem isn't bad, but they really suck versus hunts, and all you get is a couple slow. And otherwise, you're screwed. You will notice that he's not actually going to tier 3, and he's just massing a whole bunch of dryads. Don't, like, mass dryads, because they will get raped by glaives, but at least get, like, a few. You don't want to get too many. And this is why archers are actually pretty good. If you get really good positioning, like this will happen, you'll notice that if you look at the NGL scoreboard, Check actually has 5 more food, and he's got a level 3 hero. But if you watch the positioning, and basically he's got a couple of the glaives attacking, you know, his troll berserker. He's got most of the hunters attacking his heroes. I mean, he is moving 3 of his hunters into the back, but he should be moving his other 3 to the other back side. But you'll notice that, like, Longluck's just playing this really smart, and he's basically keeping his archers out of range of the huntress, and he's trying to keep his dryads as far out of the glaive focus as possible. And then it just basically comes down to the micro. If you actually have, like, a decent army, you should be able to take them down. Like, if you have a 50-foot army of, you know, mercs and a couple dryads and some archers, and, you know, your tier 2, your, sorry, let's pronounce this properly, your 2 heroes, you should actually do fairly well. One thing you should try not to do is lose